Hey friends, we're going to go over chapter 14. I'm going to try to keep it pretty quick because this is a long chapter, so I'm going to try not to ramble too much for this one. So let's just get right into it. We are principles of hair design. We're going to jump down to discover the philosophy of design. The first part says, have a vision. Inspiration can emerge from many sources, movies, TV, magazines, videos, even a person on the street. Anything, anywhere can spark the creative process. We're going to move down on the next page under Define the Elements of Hair Design. It says, to begin to understand the creative process involved in hairstyling, it's critical to learn the 5 basic elements of three-dimensional design. These elements are line, form, space, design texture, and color. Alright, so let's talk about the different lines. The first one's horizontal lines. These create width in hair design. If you can look in that picture, figure 14-3. It makes the head look wider where those horizontal lines are. Vertical lines create length and height in hair design. Diagonal lines are positioned between horizontal and vertical lines. They're often used to emphasize or minimize facial features. Diagonal lines are also used to create interest in hair design. Curved lines, these are lines moving in a circular or semicircular direction, and they are used to soften a design. So, designing with these lines, we'll talk about single lines. Single lines are used in one-length hairstyle. These hairstyles are best for clients requiring the lowest maintenance when styling their hair. So, like a good example of this is a blunt cut or a bob, where it's just one length. We're going to skip parallel lines and talk about contrasting lines. These are horizontal and vertical lines that meet at a 90-degree angle. These lines create a hard edge. Contrasting lines in design usually create distinct looks and work best for clients able to carry off a strong style. Transitional lines are usually curved lines that are used to blend and soften horizontal or vertical lines. These lines are used frequently when texturizing a haircut along with hair color placement and color blending. Your directional lines, these are lines with definite forward or backward movement. Let's talk about form. So form and space can get confusing, so I want you guys to keep this in mind. Form is the mass or general outline of a hairstyle, the outline, okay? It is three-dimensional and has length, width, and depth. Form may also be referred to as volume. We'll skip to the next highlighted part. It says, the hair form should be in proportion to the shape of the head and face, the length and width of the neck, and the shoulder line. Now let's talk about space. Space is the area surrounding the form or the area the hairstyle occupies. So in that little picture right there, it's got that silhouette. The dotted line is going to be your form. And everything that's in black is the space. Okay? Right there. And then go ahead and highlight right there. It says, the outline of the hairstyle is the form. Let's talk about design texture. Design texture refers to the directional wave pattern or illusion of motion in the hair. The design texture must be taken into consideration when creating a style for your client. Skip down to this part. It says curly hair is more coiled and often grows more compact together. Curly hair will reflect less light and can create a larger form than straight or wavy. So if you look at these pictures, the curly hair has a bigger shape than the wavy hair shape. Okay? Let's talk about changing design texture with chemicals. Chemically infused surfaces that make changes in the natural texture, curl, or wave pattern in the hair are considered permanent and will never revert back to the original pattern. They're talking about perms and relaxers. Alright, moving on. Right here it says, keratin-based chemical treatments used for smoothing or straightening the hair are also available in today's market. This process, however, is not completely permanent. A good example is the Brazilian blowout for this one. Let's go to tips for designing with directional wave pattern. We're going to just talk about this highlighted bullet right here. It says smooth patterns accent the face and are particularly useful when you wish to narrow a round head shape. Hair color. Hair color plays an important role in design, both visually and psychologically. It can be used to help define texture and line in a design. Now this isn't highlighted, but let's talk about it. Right here it says color can make all or part of the design appear larger or smaller by adding or subtracting volume. Depending on placement, color can accent or de-emphasize a particular part of the client's feature. Color is also known to have a positive impact on one's mood or attitude if done well. So I like to think of hair color kind of like makeup. We use dark colors to recede features. We use light colors to bring out features. Let's talk about lines with color. We're going to highlight this whole paragraph. It says, color acts as an illusion and helps to create lines of attention. Because the eye is drawn to the lightest color present, you can use a light color to draw a line in a hairstyle in the direction you want the eye to travel. As with highlights around the fringe or facial area, a single line of color or a series of repeated lines of color can create a bold, dramatic accent or work to enhance blunt lines around the perimeter of the style. Moving on to the next page, under Understand the Principles of Hair Design. Right here it says 5 important principles in art and design is proportion, balance, rhythm, emphasis, and harmony. They're also the basis of hair design. Let's talk about proportion first. Proportion is the comparative relationship of one thing to another. And let's talk about balance. Balance is establishing equal or appropriate proportions to create symmetry. And they like to use these 2 photos to show it. This looks a lot more appealing than this one does because the hair is too big for her body. So it's not balanced and it's not equal proportions. On the next page, let's talk about symmetrical balance. That occurs when imaginary line is drawn through the center of the face and the 2 resulting halves form a mirror image of each other. Asymmetrical balance is established when the 2 imaginary halves of a hairstyle have equal visual weight but are positioned unevenly. So a good example of an asymmetrical is this one right here. This side is shorter than this side, or this one. This side is shorter than this side. There you go. Let's talk about rhythm. Rhythm is a regular pulsation or recurrent pattern of movement in a design. A good example of it is curls because they have a certain rhythm to them. Emphasis. The emphasis, also known as focus in a design, is what draws the eye first before it travels to the rest of the design. So a good example is this haircut down here. Our eye is drawn here, and then it goes down here. So this would be the emphasis. All right, let's go down to harmony. Harmony is the creation of unity in a design and is the most important part of the hair principles. Harmony holds all the elements of the design together. When a hairstyle is harmonious, it has the following elements: a form with interesting lines, a pleasing color or combination of colors and textures, a balance and rhythm that together strengthen the design. Moving on to the next page, it says recognize the influence of hair type and texture on style. We'll start here where it's highlighted. Hair type is categorized by 2 different characteristics: directional patterns and hair texture. All hair has natural directional patterns, such as waves, that must be taken into consideration when designing a style. These patterns are straight, wavy, curly, and extremely curly. Hair texture, density, and the relationship between the 2 are also important factors in choosing a style. The basic hair textures are fine, medium, and coarse. Hair density or hair per square inch ranges from very thin to very thick. Moving on to the next page. It's talking about types of hair, but we're only going to highlight wavy fine hair and wavy medium hair, okay? So wavy fine hair, this type of hair can appear fuller when it's diffused with heat and the appropriate haircut and style. Wavy medium hair, this type of hair offers the most versatility. Oops, sorry guys. There you go. This type of hair offers the most versatility in styling as it has the most uniformity of pattern. It responds well to heat and can be easily diffused when dried from its natural state to look curly, or be easily straightened by blow drying. So it holds a curl really well, and it can also look really good straightened. Moving on, next page. Under create harmony between hairstyle and facial structure, right here. A client's facial shape is determined by the positioning and prominence of the facial bones. So a good way to kind of pick them out is I like to draw lines on people's faces. Right here in this picture, there's a line drawn around the oval face. Almost if it has an egg shape, that's how you can determine if they have an oval face shape. Let's highlight below this picture. It says, the oval face shape is considered ideal and works with any hairstyle because it is the most symmetrical face shape, and humans love symmetry. Now, round face shapes are pretty easy to work with too because they're just a squashed oval, so they're pretty easy. Let's highlight below this one. It says, this style helps the round face shape appear longer and more oval by using additional volume at the top of the head and decreasing volume at the temples. So the goal is to kind of cut off those edges of the circle and make the circle look taller to make it look more oval-like. Let's talk about square facial type. This is my face. A good way to tell is by the sides of the face. If they're super straight right here, it falls under square. Most of the time you can see it in people's jaw lines. You'll see that super sharp curve. Or by the hairline, it'll also be super sharp. So that's an easy way to tell. For square facial type, we're just going to highlight the styling choice. Because it's a sharp square, you want to soften it by adding lots of soft round textures to it. Soften the hair around the temple and jaw by bringing the shape or silhouette close to the head form. Create volume in the area between the temples and jaw by adding width around the ear area. Moving down, we're just going to skip 311 and we're going to jump straight to 312. Let's talk about profiles, okay? All right. The profile is the outline of the face, head, or figure seen in a side view. There are three basic profiles: straight, convex, and concave. The straight profile is considered the ideal, and that is going to be this one right here. Okay? The convex is when it almost looks like it's poking out. It has a receding forehead, right there, and a receding chin. So the nose pokes out the most. Okay, that's an easy one to remember. So when we're styling, we want to add volume in the areas that are receding. So right here, they added volume in the bangs, and the hair right here is adding a little volume to the chin. Next page, it says the concave profile has a prominent forehead and chin with other features receding inwards. So it's the opposite. So these stick out while the nose goes in. So when you're styling, you want to try to minimize the areas that stick out, or try not to draw too much attention to them. So like this draws a lot of attention to it, where this kind of distracts from it. Moving on, we're going to skip 314 and 315. We're going to jump straight to 316. We're going to highlight where it says partings for the bang or fringe. The bang area, also known as the fringe area, is the triangular section that begins at the apex or high point of the head that ends in the front corners. Oh my gosh, sorry guys. So, what they're saying right here, let me draw a head somewhere. Okay, here's the side. Wow, what a beautiful head. So, the apex is going to be highest point of the head. That's right there. Alright, so the fringe typically starts, let me draw a hairline in really quick. This is going to be one of your corners. So the fringe goes from apex to corner, apex to corner. And that's going to be your fringe area. Okay? On these bullet points, let's highlight this last one. It says the curved part is used for receding hairline or high forehead. Let's see. There is a good example of it right here. Curved part right there. So it's a nice curve rather than a sharp V for the bangs. Let's move on to the next page. At the top it says diagonal back partings are used to create the illusion of width or height in a hairstyle. Now we'll use this term for hair cutting. Let me draw another head. Sorry guys. They're not the best heads, but you know what? You get what you get. I'm going to draw two. Here's an ear. Wow, I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this one. Let's change the color. So, when I say diagonal back, it is going this direction on the head. Okay? Diagonal back. Which is nice for haircuts, especially a lot of people's haircuts today. They lay in this pattern. They lay in a diagonal back pattern, like face framing. Diagonal forward's going to be the opposite. It's going this way. A good haircut that comes to mind is an A-line, because it's shorter in the back and gets longer in the front. So this is diagonal forward. All right. And that is it for chapter 14, friends.